Hey crew, Hollywood here. Today I'm just going to talk about LS swapping a Valiant. So the pros and cons to that. Now, a lot of people will say, why the hell would you put an LS in a Valiant? There's pros. So the pros are availability to parts. So there's a lot of providers out there that will provide performance parts for LSs. And also add-ons with superchargers and pro chargers and all different things that you can add on to LSs. So that's kind of the pro. That's the reason why I did it. A lot of people say a pro would be, well, the cost. Well, that's not right, because this LS swap cost me more than what it would have to build a small block Mopar or a big block Mopar. It actually cost me more. And the reason is, the engine didn't cost me more. The engine cost me a lot less, but it's the conversion that costs you the money, because everything's custom when you put an LS in a Valiant. Any Mopar. So you've got to get custom headers, custom engine mounts, gearbox mount. I ran a Turbo 350 in this. There's a starter motor relocation kit because it's too tight on the driver's side. I left the engines on these Mopars sit over to the driver's side here, so they sit over this way off center, and the reason why they do that is because they're American design. So the American designers, they have the steering on the passenger side. So they moved the engine over for that reason. But when Australia built Valiants, they didn't move the engine back to centre or even to the opposite side, which is probably what they should have done, because the steering box is on the opposite side. So it's really tight on one side. So you've got to relocate the starter motor. Fortunately, Rod Shop do a kit for that. I think the kit was around about kind of $750 to move the starter over. That includes a starter motor, a reduction drive starter motor. Just not too bad. And then the Rod Shop also do engine mounts for LSs. I had a 265 in this before, a Hemi 265. It had the K-frame for that, and they do engine mounts that suit the Hemi 265 K-frame to fit an LS. So that was perfect. Sits nice and low too. You could probably fit a supercharger under here, which is what I may end up doing later on. And then Rod Shop actually do engine mounts for the Turbo 350 in the Valiant, so that was good. But there is, there's the wiring loom, bit of custom wiring, and mainly the headers. So the headers are most expensive part. So that's kind of like the extra costs that if I had a 360 or it's like a small block Mopar or a big block Mopar with a 727 or 904 gearbox, that would fit straight in. It would have cost me a lot more to build the engine, probably $20,000 more it would have cost me to build the engine. But that $20,000 that I saved, I've put into the conversion. So really it was kind of like either break even or maybe a little bit more to do the conversion. But I did that for future changes. So I want to be able to get decent horsepower out of this, and it costs big dollars to do that in Mopar. And the availability of parts, you're always waiting for parts to come over from the US. So I've got that experience with building other engines or getting other cars built. So I wanted to kind of like just do something different and have more availability to make changes when I want to. So when people say that you can do an LS swap for $5,000, those days have been gone. I don't think you ever could have done that in a Valiant, with all the conversion costs. So yeah, people kind of talk it up. And also the people that have done that for that kind of money, or maybe a little bit more, they were actual mechanics or diesel fitters, or they had, they did a lot of labour themselves, so they didn't include those, those costs. Whereas I'm not a mechanic, I'm an auto electrician by trade. It's been 25 years since I was an auto electrician. I can still remember, old cars are quite easy to work on with the wiring. So, but I got a performance shop to build this for me. DNK Solutions, Darren did a great job, and the boys. So they did, they did all the conversion and everything. I just did a little bit of wiring and kind of cleaning up and stuff. But that's kind of the things I did. I also painted the engine bay and did a few, odd bits and pieces, really. So I couldn't, it cost me a bit of money because obviously you're getting other people to do it. So, pros are availability of parts. Cons are it costs you the conversion amount, but then also the pros are, the engine build is a lot less too. So that's mainly what I want to talk about. And now that I've got this LS in the car, I can go and add whatever performance parts I want on this thing. A lot cheaper to do. I can go and buy a supercharger for it and fit that up to it in the future. I'm going to be racing NA in this, and I want to run 10-second pass in this. So I might even do some more stuff NA. I might change a cam, or whatever we might want to do. Might want to do some more porting to the heads or whatever. So, but I will actually probably put a supercharger on this later on at some point. Once I've kind of had my fun with it being NA. So yeah, there you have it. So yeah, it costs more money to do this. I believe, it costs more money to do an LS conversion. But, as I said, the pros are that there's availability of parts. The cons, I suppose the con is, it's an LS. It doesn't sound as good as an old school Mopar. I mean, it's not bad. It's got a pretty good exhaust on it, and it does sound pretty lumpy, but it definitely doesn't sound like an old school engine. There is a difference between the new school engines and the old school engines, the distinct sounds, mechanical sounds. So it definitely doesn't sound as good. I think it's probably the Mopars. Well, my last car I had was a big block, so the instant torque. You had that instant torque. This is it's an LS, so it's a small block. It's definitely got a lot of sting to it, but it doesn't have the grunt that big blocks have. So that's a given. Big block, small block, they're always different. So yeah, that's the main kind of differences, I think. This thing's just got a lot of kind of snap to it, super snappy. Totally different car to drive. So I don't know what it's going to be like on the racetrack, but it's a totally different car on the road, and I'm loving it right now. It's different, but it's pretty cool. So plenty of room this side. Check it over this side. There is no room. Hence why the starter motor had to be relocated to the other side over here. One of the reasons I went to a turbo 350 is I'm used to a 3-speed. It's an NA car at the moment, so I wanted to get something to match an NA motor for the racing. Also, the turbo 350. Now, I generally would have went a turbo 400, but they're a lot bigger case than the turbo 350. And with these VF Valiants, they have a small tunnel. They go bigger around the VJ charger. I think some even on the VG tunnels are bigger, and they would fit a turbo 400. But the VFs are a smaller tunnel. I didn't want to cut the tunnel, so the turbo 350 fit perfectly. So it's a 3-speed reverse pattern manualised gearbox. It's rated at 750 horsepower, so it should be enough for what I want to do. And it has a tram brake. I wasn't looking for something with the tram brake. I was looking for something that had, the horsepower rating, and it came with a tram brake, and it was reverse pattern manualized, which I love. So yeah, that's why I went that way. So yeah, the Turbo 350 just fit really well in that tunnel, fit perfectly. I also ran with the accelerator, like the standard accelerator that comes with an SS Commodore. This engine's out of a 2015 VF, ironically, Commodore SS Ute. So I got a pedal, electronic pedal, that suits that car, and then I actually bought a pedal mount, because the pedals are, the way they come is a bit funny. They've got like a hook and then one screw, so you have to have a very distinct kind of fitting to be able to fit it to the firewall. So I actually went online, and somebody, I can't remember what the crew's called, but they do LS conversions on patrols. So they had a really good mount for the pedal. So I bought that and then fitted that to the pedal, which fits straight in. But then you've just got to change the mount where it fits the firewall. So that's how I kind of did it. So it's a fly-by-wire accelerator pedal. A lot of people will change the throttle body, and so they can use the original cable-driven accelerator. I just went fly-by-wire. Now, initially when I first had this car on the road, it had a fairly basic tune in it. So there was a bit of a kind of a lag of when you put your foot down and when it goes. And so, yeah, that was took a bit to get used to. But then when I recently put it on the dyno, and they did some kind of more, I suppose, just tuning, and now it's just a lot better. So there's not as much lag, and it feels a lot better. It's still different to the cable driven, but it feels pretty good. Now I'm used to it now. It's just like driving a new car. So all the new cars have got electronic, fly-by-wire accelerator pedals. So yeah, so that's that part of it. I left that as is, and I'm quite happy with it now. I'm used to it. Yeah, it's one of the other things I'm going to do with this Ute. I've currently got a little box that shows you digitally all the different readings from the computer temp. You've got the air temp here, coolant temp, your RPMs, or charging, all that different stuff. I've got this. It's from Forward Drive Super Center. It's just a little box that you plug into the computer. So I'm looking at, do I get a bunch of gauges and connect it up to the engine, with different senders or whatever, or do I actually rely on the computer and get a dash, like electronic dash? So I haven't done it yet, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to buy a PTune Dash. So it's just like a universal dash, and you can get the wiring loom for the LS and plug straight into the computer, and it has different visualizations, like a visualization for the street, where you might have your tacho and your speedo and everything. It's got a GPS speedo in it, and you can have that. And there's about kind of 5 different visualizations. One for drag racing, so it's just like all tacho, kind of goes like that. It's all tacho, and so you can just see where you're redlining, and then you can change gears. So yeah, there's all these different visualizations. So that's the way I'm going to go, is the PTune Dash. It's pretty easy to install. Just plug it straight in, and it works off the computer. So that's probably the other thing I'm going to do. I haven't done it yet, but it should be pretty easy to do, and that'll give us. And the reason why I'm doing that is, by the time you pay for all the gauges and wire it up, I mean, I'll do all that myself, but by the time you kind of pay for, even just paying for all the gauges, like a decent tacho is probably $500. Yeah, all different gauges. So if I buy the PTune Dash, this is one cost of like, I think it's $750. Maybe it's $900 with the GPS speedo. So I'm just going to go that way. It's going to be cheaper, easier. Yeah, I'm relying on the computer for the sensors, so I don't have mechanical, gauges that are maybe a little bit more reliable. So that's the way I'm going to go. Save a bit of money, and I'll also have this awesome dash that I can just, have different kind of visualizations based on what I'm doing, if I'm racing, if I'm on the street. Here's the digital gauge that we have here. It's not on at the moment. And then I've just got this speedo here. So they're both from Four Wheel Drive Supersetter. I think this was $80, and I think this one was like $40. So that just goes off GPS. And then this one's got all your different readings. There's like 4 different settings at once that it shows. Look, I get it, guys. Not everybody's into an LS swap in a Valiant. Mopar guys generally are pretty hardcore, staunch, Mopar or no car. They wouldn't dare put a Chev motor in a Mopar. But look, I love it. I love the way it drives. Hopefully I'll get plenty of years out of it, and I'll do a supercharger later on. But at the moment, I'm just going to race it and see how we go. Yeah, look, it's not for everyone, but I don't regret it. Yeah, so, happy days. I hope you enjoyed the vid, and if you want any information about any of the parts I've used or any tricks in doing it, yeah, reach out. Send me a message. Happy to share any info that I can, share with you if you ever want to do this type of thing. And yeah, it's your own car. You don't have to do what everybody tells you to do. So happy day. Hey guys, thanks for watching the vid. Hope you find it useful. Just wanted to ask if you can subscribe and like the video. It just helps out with the algorithms. Yeah, thanks very much, and chat soon.